Okay, let's unpack this. Have you ever tried to help someone, maybe offer what you really believe is good advice, constructive feedback, only to find them completely shutting down, or maybe worse, feeling even more distant than before? It's a frustrating loop, right? I think we've all been there. So today we're diving deep into a really fascinating idea, kind of a central metaphor for exploration. Wanting to get honey, but breaking the beehive.
Hmm.
Yeah, at its core, this deep dive is really all about communication. Not just what you say, but maybe more fundamentally, how you say it. How to truly connect, inspire positive change, and, build stronger relationships without causing harm or alienation. So if you've ever felt like your good intentions just get lost in translation, or maybe your feedback accidentally backfires, well, this deep dive is definitely for you. We're going through a whole stack of sources, everything from historical stories to psychological research to pull out practical wisdom you can actually apply. You know, right away, whether it's at work or maybe closer to home. It's such a common situation, isn't it? You feel you've got valuable insights. You can see a clear path for improvement for someone, maybe on your team. But the moment you open your mouth, bam, you're met with walls, resistance. Why does our effort to help, and we genuinely mean well, why does it so often lead to pushback? It can feel like you're speaking different languages sometimes.
Yeah, and what's truly fascinating here, something our deep dive into these sources keeps highlighting, is that it's actually rarely about the truth itself being wrong. The substance of what you're saying. The core issue almost always seems to lie in the delivery, the way the
Right.
information is conveyed. Well, it can inadvertently make the other person feel attacked or threatened, even if your intention is completely pure, and even if the truth you're offering is, well, undeniable. It's like, imagine trying to give someone a beautiful gift, perfectly wrapped, but you kind of toss it at their head.
Oh, yeah.
The gift itself is good, right? But the impact, it's all wrong. They won't appreciate the gift.
That's such a vivid image, and it really makes you pause, doesn't it? Like, have you ever genuinely stopped to ask yourself, okay, hold on, if I were in their shoes with their background, their experiences, how would I actually hear this feedback? Or do we sometimes, in our eagerness to fix things, maybe inadvertently approach these conversations like a judge instead of a guide,
Yeah.
and we completely miss how our words are landing for them?
It's a really critical point to consider because, as the research shows, even people who are engaging in actions we might see as wrong or mistaken, well, they often see themselves as good, or at least they believe their actions are justified. The human mind is incredibly skilled at self-biases and rationalization. It's almost like a survival mechanism. Our sources reveal that our brains are kind of hardwired for self-preservation. So criticism can actually trigger a response almost like fight or flight, which makes rational acceptance really, really difficult without the right approach. Think about it. If someone genuinely believes they're a good person, or that what they're doing makes perfect sense to them, how easily do you think they'll accept criticism that basically challenges that core self-perception?
Right. Not easily at all. So the real challenge isn't just seeing the problem, it's understanding those like intricate layers of human defensiveness that surround it. That
Yeah.
really shifts the perspective. Yeah. Ultimately, then, for anyone listening, it kind of boils down to a fundamental choice, doesn't it? Do you want to win an argument, prove you're right in that moment? Or do you actually want to win someone's heart, maybe facilitate genuine, lasting change? Because, well, those two goals often require radically different approaches. And this isn't just theory we're talking about, it's deeply rooted in human nature and history. And here's where it gets really interesting because our deep dive uncovered some incredible real world stories. These stories really illustrate the profound power of this don't break the beehive approach in action. They're not just little anecdotes, they're lessons in how deep this human need for self-preservation truly runs.
Yeah, consider this amazing example from the early 20th century. Our sources tell the story of this notorious fugitive in New York. He was wanted for shooting police officers, pretty serious stuff. And yet, in his own personal writings, this man claimed he had a gentle heart, harming no one. It's quite striking. This extreme case really highlights just how profoundly people can cling to a positive self-image, even when there's overwhelming evidence screaming the opposite. So if someone in that position couldn't easily accept being labeled bad, just imagine how challenging it is for everyday people, with far less at stake, to admit fault when they're confronted directly. Their internal story is incredibly powerful.
Wow, that's a staggering example of self-justification. Almost hard to believe. It really makes you realize the significant uphill battle we might be facing without even knowing it when we give feedback. And there's another powerful story we found, this one from the US Civil War. Apparently, the president, after one of his generals missed what he called a golden opportunity on the battlefield, Well, he drafted this absolutely scathing letter, a reprimand, just detailing every single mistake. But here's the kicker. He never sent it. He put it aside.
Ah.
He understood that, yeah, sending that letter might satisfy his own anger, right, get it off his chest. But it would probably destroy the general's confidence, his competence, maybe his self-respect in the long run. So what does that tell us about real leadership, long-sighted leadership, valuing the person and their future contribution over just being right in the moment?
Exactly. It points to a much deeper understanding of human motivation, doesn't it? And then there's that inspiring story of the stunt pilot and his mechanic. It's a fantastic illustration of the power of trust. So there was this near-fatal mistake. The mechanic incorrectly fueled the stunt plane. I mean, a catastrophic error that nearly cost the pilot his life.
Oh, wow.
But the pilot's response was, well, completely unexpected. Instead of fury, instead of a public dressing down, he just looked the mechanic right in the eye and simply said, tomorrow morning, you prepare the plane for me.
That takes guts and faith, incredible faith, right? And this profound act of trust, it actually healed the mechanic's fear. It transformed what could have been a career-ending mistake into this unbreakable vow to never let it happen again. It empowered him instead of crushing his spirit with criticism. So if we connect this to the bigger picture, what these stories really demonstrate quite vividly is that true strength isn't just about asserting that you're right or, exercising raw authority. It's about keeping people, as one source put it, understanding their intrinsic value and empowering them to rise rather than just tearing them down. It's about building capacity, not destroying it.
Those stories are incredibly insightful. They really paint a clear picture of the problem and also the potential solution. So, okay, with these real-world examples in mind, what are the underlying psychological principles, the social dynamics? What does our deep dive tell us about why this beehive metaphor is so fitting? Our deep dive really points to three core principles here. The first one centers around self-esteem and self-justification. As we kind of touched on earlier, when people perceive an attack, even a perceived one, their ego immediately throws up defenses. Denial, blame, excuses, you name it. Our self-esteem is that beehive, you could say. And a forceful poke, well, it often results in a whole swarm of resistance. So criticism, far from achieving its goal, frequently just increases that resistance because it triggers that primal need to protect oneself. You're basically activating their internal defense shield, making them less receptive, not more.
That makes perfect sense. It's like a knee-jerk reaction, isn't it? Protecting our sense of self. Okay, so that's the first principle. Then we move to the second key insight.
Yeah, the second is all about behavioral reinforcement. The research pretty consistently emphasizes that while punishment can temporarily suppress unwanted behavior.
Sure, it might stop it for a bit.
Right, but it often leaves behind this trail of fear, maybe resentment, and a cycle of avoidance. Think about it. If you're constantly afraid of making a mistake or getting yelled at, you might just stop trying new things or even actively avoid the person who gives the feedback.
Yeah, you just keep your head down.
Exactly. Now, in stark contrast, genuine positive reinforcement praise, acknowledgement that's typically far more effective for long-term behavioral change, especially in ongoing relationships like at work or home. Acknowledging good behavior, genuinely, it opens the door for it to come back and flourish. It makes people want to do better. To live up to that positive affirmation.
That feels much more constructive, building people up rather than tearing them down. Okay, so self-esteem reinforcement was the third one.
And the third, which is maybe the most powerful, is cognitive empathy. What's really fascinating here is that when we genuinely try to step into another person's perspective, like really try to see it from their side, our brain actually undergoes a critical shift. We move from a mindset of, say, condemning or judging towards one of problem solving. We become allies, not adversaries. And this immediately changes our language. It transforms those accusatory statements like, you must do this, into more open-ended questions like, what might have led you to?
Yeah.
Or, how can I help figure this out? Empathy isn't about excusing bad actions, let's be clear. But it is often the most direct route for others to sort of self-identify and self-correct their own challenges. Because you've created a safe psychological space for that essential self-reflection. It's the lamp, not the hammer, right?
The lamp, not the hammer. I like that. Okay. So I'm hearing a lot about empathy, understanding, positive reinforcement, which sounds great, really powerful. But what about those situations where, I don't know, direct criticism just feels unavoidable, maybe even necessary for safety or standards? Do the sources suggest there's still a place for it, or should we always avoid it? It seems like a tricky line to walk.
That's an excellent question. And yeah, it's one our deep dive definitely addresses. The material explains that Criticism can be necessary sometimes, but it really needs to follow a strict hierarchy of priorities. It should be used more like a precise surgical tool, not a blunt instrument. So first, the priority is always to understand. Clarify the situation, the event, get all the facts straight without jumping to assumptions. What actually happened? Next, you need to connect. Connect the issue to a shared common goal, something you both care about, like safety or quality or team success, so they see how the behavior impacts that bigger picture.
Okay, understand then connect.
Then, propose concrete choices or options for moving forward. This is key. You empower them to take ownership of the solution. Here are a couple of ways we could address this. And only if there's an intentional, repeated failure despite these previous steps should clear consequences be established. And those should be known beforehand, ideally. The crucial point is that criticism, when it is used, should be a last resort. A pedagogical tool designed for growth and learning, not just a way to vent your own frustration or assert dominance.
Right, it's about teaching, not just punishing. Okay, that hierarchy makes a lot of sense. So with these powerful psychological insights now clear, the big question is, how do we actually apply this? Day to day, at work, at home. Our deep dive apparently reveals a pretty clear 5-step practice for getting the honey without breaking the beehive. Let's walk through that.
Absolutely. And this isn't just about, tweaking your words slightly. It's really about a fundamental shift in how you approach these conversations. Okay, so step 1, shift perspective, 30-second rule. Before you actually speak, literally take 30 seconds. Just pause. Ask yourself, if I were in their shoes, hearing what I'm about to say and the way I'm about to say it, would I feel attacked, or would I feel genuinely helped? If it feels like an attack, even a little bit, then rephrase it. Keep adjusting until it feels supportive, or at least neutral and problem-focused. This simple pause, it can be a total game changer.
That 30 seconds sounds crucial, just stopping that impulse reaction. Okay, step 1, pause and perspective shift. What's next?
Step 2, start with agreement and shared value. Don't jump right into the problem. Begin by explicitly stating a common goal or a shared value, something you both agree on. For example, look, what we both want here is safety on the site, or our shared goal is making sure this project succeeds, delivering better quality. This immediately opens the other person's mind because you're establishing common ground first. It makes them significantly more receptive to whatever follows. You're on the same team.
Okay, find common ground first. Makes sense. Step 3.
Step 3, describe behavior, not label the person. This is vital. Focus strictly on observable actions. What did you actually see or hear? So instead of labeling someone as, say, irresponsible, you state what you observed. Earlier on the shift, I noticed the safety helmet wasn't worn, or the report missed the key data point we discussed. See the difference? You address the specific action without attacking their core identity. That's usually where the beehive gets really agitated when they feel personally attacked.
Describe, don't label. Got it. Actions, not character judgments. What's step 4?
Step 4, ask for the cause and propose options. After describing the behavior, inquire about the root cause. Don't assume you know why it happened. Ask genuinely, was there any obstacle or challenge preventing this? What happened? Well, listen to their answer. Then, crucially, move to solutions. Okay, I have maybe 2 potential options for how we could address this going forward. Which of these do you think would work best for you? And how will you commit to making that happen?
Empowering choice and asking for commitment maintains their dignity and sense of ownership. They become an active participant in fixing the problem, not just someone being told what to do.
Okay, ask why, then offer choices for the how. That keeps them involved. And the final step, step 5. Step 5, genuine recognition and follow-up. This closes the loop. When you see the desired change, acknowledge it. And do it specifically and immediately. Hey, thanks for wearing the helmet today. Really appreciate you prioritizing safety. Or that revised report was excellent. Thanks for adding the data. Then mention when you'll check in next, maybe casually. Let's touch base again next week on this. Good behavior needs consistent light to persist. It needs to be seen and genuinely appreciated to grow and become the new habit.
That's a really clear, actionable framework. Pause, find common ground, describe behavior, ask and offer options, then recognize progress. Feels very constructive for those tougher workplace chats. But what if, even after all this careful strategic communication, the person still seems stubborn or the behavior just doesn't change? Is there a point where, stronger action is needed?
Yes, absolutely. The deep dive addresses this realistically. It lays out a clear progression, sometimes called strategic steps of discipline, but always emphasizes staying calm and rational. It's not about escalating emotion. The first step, if the initial approach fails repeatedly, is to illustrate real consequences. Use objective data, maybe case studies, or clearly explain the concrete risks involved. Show the tangible impact of their actions not as a threat, but as an objective reality check. If this continues, here's what could happen.
Okay, make the consequences real and tangible, if that doesn't work.
The second step could be a short-written commitment. Sometimes just formalizing things helps. A simple document outlining who does what by when. It creates clarity, trackability, and a sense of mutual agreement on record.
Right, a clear agreement on paper, and if even that doesn't lead to change.
Then the third, and typically final strategic step, involves pre-announced organizational consequences. These need to be fair, consistent, and ideally outlined in policies beforehand. This could involve actions like a formal warning, a change in role or responsibilities, maybe suspension or, yes, as a last resort, termination. But the crucial point running through all these steps is that it's vital to remain calm, consistent, and fair. Never resort to personal attacks or insults. The focus always remains on the behavior and its impact, aiming for resolution, not humiliation.
That progression makes a lot of sense, especially in a professional setting where standards matter. Okay, but let's bring this closer to home now. Parents, right? We often find ourselves scolding our kids over seemingly small things, and it can be incredibly hard to apply these principles when emotions are running high. Are there specific tools for families too?
Oh, absolutely. And the principles are surprisingly similar, just adapted for the family context. For families, the research recommends this wonderful little 3-question ritual before losing your temper. So before you react impulsively to, say, spilled milk or an undone chore, pause and ask yourself, or maybe ask together later, 1, what did you do well today? Start by finding something positive. It shifts your own mindset first.
Start with a positive, okay.
2, why is this important to us as a family to you? Connect the behavior or the desired behavior back to shared family values, like cooperation or tidiness or respecting belongings. Why does it matter to us? And 3rd, next time, how will they do differently? Let's try one specific way. This focuses on a concrete future action, empowering the child with a plan, rather than just dwelling on the past mistake or shaming them.
What went well, why it matters, how to do it differently next time. I like that. Simple, but sounds effective.
It really can be. And it's just a simple daily practice. Our sources also recommend adding one daily 10-second hug. Seriously, it sounds small, but that physical connection acts like a powerful criticism antibody for the family. It builds up emotional reserves, that positive connection, which makes navigating those tougher conversations much, much easier when they do come up.
A 10-second hug. A criticism antibody. That's such a lovely thought. Okay, so as we wrap up this deep dive, then let's really try to reinforce that core message. Wanting to get the honey, the positive outcome, the change, the connection, it means consciously not breaking the beehive. It means making a deliberate effort to preserve the dignity and the self-esteem of the person you're talking to, even when it's difficult, even when you're delivering tough feedback or trying to inspire a change.
Exactly. And what's truly powerful here, I think, is understanding that real adult strength, real leadership strength isn't about finding someone's weak spot, or hitting them where it hurts. That's easy, but ineffective long term. True strength is about opening a door for them to change, to grow, to maybe become a better version of themselves. This whole approach transforms what we might normally call criticism into something more like illumination. It means you're clearly lighting up the path, showing the shared goals, highlighting the specific behaviors that need adjusting, presenting feasible options for change, and then offering that timely, genuine recognition when progress happens. You're creating an environment where growth isn't just possible, it's actually invited.
Transforming criticism into illumination. That's a great way to frame it.
And maybe here's a final thought for you to consider. Think about how a single well-chosen word, or maybe a question asked with genuine understanding and empathy instead of judgment, how that one interaction can profoundly change the trajectory. For a child, for someone on your team, maybe even for a whole organization, that kind of communication, that is real, lasting impact.
So the question for you listening is, where in your life, maybe even today, can you put down the hammer and pick up the lamp? Where can you illuminate a path forward for someone you care about or someone you work with? We really hope this deep dive has equipped you with some invaluable tools to do just that. Thanks so much for joining us.